Today, we're going to be talking about paying for a used car when buying from a private party. There's cash, there are checks, and there are peer-to-peer money sharing apps. Let's go ahead and break down the pros and cons of each method. Let's go ahead and start with cash. Now, there are a couple of pros to buying a car with cash. Now, the first pro is that you can save a little bit of money by doing it this way. Paying for a car in cash usually also means paying for a car in full, which means you don't have to get a loan. And when you get a loan, you have to pay interest. Another pro to using cash is the transaction's physical. You don't have to worry about the buyer getting the money. You hand the cash to him, shake hands, and that's about it. Now, that's about where the pros stop when it comes to cash. Cash is pretty cumbersome, and unless you're buying a pretty dang cheap car, you're going to have a lot of cash involved. Also going to have to prove to the seller that the cash isn't counterfeit. It also means you're gonna have to count and recount to make sure you have an accurate amount of cash. Now, cash can also be a safety issue. Carrying large amounts of cash just isn't safe. It opens up the potential for you being actually robbed, which means you can get hurt and you can lose all of your cash towards that new car. Now, those are typically the things you have to worry about if you're gonna be paying for a used car in cash. Now that we've covered cash, let's go ahead and talk about checks. Typically, when you pay for a car with a check, you want to use cashier's checks. Personal checks are pretty risky, and the seller runs the risk of the check not clearing. Cashier's checks are just a lot safer than accepting a personal check or even cash, but they aren't foolproof. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the cons. Checks tend to go hand in hand with fraud. Criminals are known to produce fraudulent cashier's checks pretty easily, and this is especially true if the buyer's remote. If the transaction isn't remote, you're at the mercy of banking hours. To get a cashier's check, you have to go into a bank, and to go into the bank has to be open. This can make the whole process take a little bit longer and add a couple extra steps. So keep this in mind if you choose to go the check route. Now that we've gone over checks, let's go ahead and talk about peer-to-peer money sharing apps. Apps like Venmo and Cash App are great for splitting bills and sending money to your friends and family. But when it comes to larger payments, this is when those apps fall short. With weekly spending limits around $5,000, this whole process won't really work when you want to buy a $20,000 Honda Civic or even a $50,000 Jeep Wrangler. What if I told you there was an app that solves this problem? Enter in PrivateAuto. Our peer-to-peer app PrivateAuto allows you to pay cash digitally. Actual dollars from your PrivateAuto Pay account gets moved from you to the seller, and it does it instantly. Now, how does it work? PrivateAuto spins up your own unique bank account behind the scenes for the purpose of buying and selling cars. So to be clear, it isn't a shared escrow account, it is a bank account, which means money moves like an interbank transfer. That means no transfer fees, no security concerns, no counterfeit worries, and no limitation on the actual transaction size. Just a few taps on your phone and you can send any amount of money instantly. Pretty much PrivateAuto Pay keeps what's best about cash and checks, but pairs it with 21st century convenience. After the transaction takes place, and if there's no money in your PrivateAuto Pay account, that account will close after 90 days. However, if you do decide to keep money in there, PrivateAuto Pay will stay open for any future transactions you decide to make. All right, guys, that's about it. I hope this information was helpful and this helped you on your journey of buying a car from a private party. If you have any further questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or you could check out our website. We've got plenty of blog articles filled with information that has anything to do with buying or selling a car to a private party. That's about it. We'll see you guys in the next one.